Sup guys, in this video I'll be going over the 2024 Chinese New Year update. This update brings us not only 5 new ships, but also 2 retrofits, a new missile, and Haku's Fate Sim as well. In terms of the new ships, we've only got 1 SSR and 4 SRs, so let's keep our expectations within reason here. Let's start off with the SSR, Huan Chang. She is a straightforward battlecruiser with relatively low stats and efficiencies. Her skill 1's buff effects are also random, and there's a pretty big difference between giving your entire main fleet 8% firepower and accuracy, as opposed to any of the other effects, so her performance will be hampered by that pretty hard. She also has a barrage, which is guaranteed as long as you have 1 other Dragon Emperor ship in the fleet, and procs every 15 seconds, allowing her to desync its activation from her main guns. Looking at the data of the barrage, it has very high total damage, but since it doesn't seem to say aimed or have any kind of splash or spread, it's likely that it'll be a big 7 type, straight barrage that gets stopped by shields. We can, for example, take a look at a barrage like Hood's, which says 16 splash, implying that it's arcing with AoE. Due to her relatively low stats making her relatively squishy, and a high likelihood to not roll the best buff, and having a barrage that gets stopped by shields, I think she'll struggle quite a lot in endgame content, but should be usable for new players. I doubt that she'll be stronger than the likes of Hood though, who is permanently available. Next, let's take a look at the duo of Long Wu and Hu Pen. Their skills actually have pretty powerful effects, having guaranteed double torps as well as a hefty 30% damage reduction. But despite all that, it's not enough to make up for their low base stats, so they're not going to be breaking the meta or anything. Design-wise though, Long Wu is my favorite of this batch. Next, we have Fei Yun, who just seems to be weaker than the previous 2 destroyers, with a lot of RNG in her kit. No real niche as far as I can see. And finally, we have Qian, who has the same loadout as Chao Ho and Ying Sui, so her stats are not too impressive. She does have a fleet-wide 5% damage buff as long as you have another Dragon Emperor ship in the fleet, but she's also extremely squishy, so once again, not going to be breaking into the meta or anything. Next, let's take a look at the retrofits. First is Qianhai, who is still too different from other ships for me to draw an easy comparison, so I'll just test her out after leveling her skills. Don't get your hopes up though, as she still has pretty mediocre stats with only 5 planes. Her retrofit art looks really good though at least. Next is Taiyuan, who doesn't have any buffs for her teammates, but seems to have a stronger barrage than Anshan, so she can potentially be the best DDG when sortied solo. Where Anshan has her beat though is Anshan's armor break, and since you're mostly going to be running DDGs against light armor enemies, oftentimes you're going to be running all HE guns, and Anshan will be your only source of armor break, making it too valuable to replace with just a slightly stronger barrage. Still, she's gonna be a great ship just by virtue of her loadout. Next, let's take a look at the equipment. The purple one doesn't seem to be too worth it, so let's just move on to the missile. The missile is quite straightforward, being a direct upgrade over the core data missile in terms of both damage and reload. Pick it up and upgrade it. Nothing else to really say. I feel like they should have made it rainbow with this much of a direct upgrade, but I'm not complaining because I get to save 240 plates. And finally, we have the Haku Fate simulation. Her playstyle hasn't really changed at all, as she just got direct damage buffs, but it totals to over 20% extra damage against heavy armor. This amount of damage increase makes her stronger alone than a 100% proc Enterprise against medium and heavy armor, and when factoring in her fleet-wide damage-taking increase debuff, she's better against light as well. I think Shinano is still stronger in a full fleet where her kit is being put to use, but as a solo carrier, Haku should deal noticeably higher damage than her now, which in my opinion is how it should have always been. Finally, worthy of her rainbow status, I consider her to be an entire tier above Enterprise now. And that's pretty much it for the new content. Since the event is a raid event, and there are no planes in the EX fight, I'll probably be doing a lot of testing throughout the course of the event. I'll be trying to investigate whether or not Unzen Gun is better than Drake Gun against heavy armor, the relative strengths of the new submarines, and various topics that I find interesting enough. So that's pretty much it for this video. Good luck everyone on your rolls. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.